Lee Seung lay on the wide hotel bed, his bare chest rising slowly as the soft glow of Seoul's city lights spilled through the half-drawn curtains. Hana was pressed against him, her head resting comfortably on his chest, her fingers tracing slow circles as though she feared he might vanish if she stopped touching him. "I can't believe we're holding each other again after so many years," Lee Seung murmured, his voice thick with nostalgia and desire. Hana lifted her face, her lips curving into a knowing smile. She leaned closer and whispered into his ear, "I'm yours tonight." Lee Seung closed his eyes, surrendering to the moment. Then his phone rang. The sound cut through the room like glass breaking. He opened his eyes and glanced at the screen. "Clara." His fingers hesitated before he answered. "Clara, honey," he said calmly. "When are you coming home? I prepared something special for you. You know today is Michael's birthday." Silence hung on the line. "I'm still not done with the meeting," Lee Seung continued smoothly. "I'm trying to sort things out with the board. I don't know how long this will take. I'm sorry I'm not there right now." A pause. "I understand," Clara replied softly, though her voice sounded tired. "Michael has been asking for you." "I'll make it up to him," Lee Seung said quickly. "I promise." He ended the call and leaned down, kissing Hana as though sealing the lie. Hana chuckled softly. "Who was that?" she asked. "My wife," Lee Seung replied without emotion. "Oh," Hana scoffed. "That thing." They both laughed. "She thinks she can take you away from me," Hana teased. Lee Seung shook his head. "She doesn't understand me like you do." Hana smiled, brushing her hand across his chest. "Of course not. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed deep, emotional stories filled with love, betrayal, and real-life lessons, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Now, let's continue. Across the city, in a modest apartment far from luxury hotels, Clara George stood quietly in the dining room. A small birthday cake sat on the table, candles already melted halfway down. Paper decorations hung slightly crooked on the wall. Michael sat on his chair, his small hands folded neatly in front of him. "Mom," he asked gently, "where is Dad?" Clara swallowed. "Why isn't he here?" Michael continued. "Has he forgotten today is my birthday?" She forced a smile and moved closer. "Sweetheart, he wanted to be here. Something came up." "Something always comes up," Michael said quietly. "That's not true," Clara replied, though her voice wavered. Michael lifted his head and looked straight at her. "Then why does he care more about her?" Clara froze. "About who?" she asked carefully. "The Korean woman," Michael said. "I heard Dad talking to her last week." Clara felt a sharp ache in her chest. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "Yes, Mommy. I'm not happy. He didn't come for my birthday." She pulled him into a tight hug. "It's okay, baby. Everything will be fine." Michael's voice dropped into a whisper. "Why does Dad love her more than us?" Clara felt her heart crack slowly, painfully. She held him tighter as memories flooded her mind, late nights, empty promises, and the way Lee Seung guarded his phone like it held his true heart. "Your dad loves you," she whispered, kissing his forehead. "Never forget that." But even as she said it, she knew love without presence felt empty. Later that night, Lee Seung stood by the hotel window, staring at the city below. His phone buzzed again. A message from Hana. "I need to see you. It's urgent." He stared at the screen. Hana. His first love. The girl from before everything went dark. And without realizing it, Lee Seung took another step away from his family. Morning came quietly, the kind of morning that felt heavy before anything even went wrong. Sunlight slipped through the thin curtains of Clara George's apartment, landing softly on the dining table where Michael sat in his school uniform. His backpack rested by his feet. His lunchbox was neatly packed. Everything was ready. Except his father. Clara moved around the kitchen, pretending not to notice how Michael kept glancing at the door. "Mom," he finally said, his voice careful, "is Dad coming today?" Clara paused. Just for a second. Then she smiled. "He's very busy, sweetheart," she said. "But he loves you." Michael nodded slowly, but his eyes dropped to the floor. Lee Seung appeared briefly, walking past them with his phone pressed to his ear. He didn't look at Michael. He didn't notice the way his son straightened up, hoping. "Dad," Michael called. "Can you take me to school today?" Lee Seung covered the phone. "Not today. Some other time." "You're always busy," Michael said, not angry, just tired. The phone buzzed again. Lee Seung stepped toward the door. "I need to go now." And just like that, he was gone. In the car, the silence felt too loud. Clara drove slowly, her hands tight on the steering wheel. Michael stared out the window, watching other kids walking with their parents, laughing, holding hands. "Mom," he asked suddenly, "is it my fault?" Clara's heart skipped. "What?" "No. No, Michael." "Then why doesn't Dad want to be around me?" he asked. "Did I do something wrong?" The question hung in the air, heavy and cruel. Clara pulled the car to the side of the road. She turned around in her seat and reached for him, straightening his collar gently. "Listen to me," she said softly. "Your father's distance has nothing to do with you. You are the best thing that ever happened to us. Do you hear me?" Michael nodded, but his eyes were dull. "I just want him to choose me once," he whispered. Clara pulled him into her arms, holding him longer than usual. As Michael walked into school, his shoulders were hunched, his steps slow. Clara watched him disappear through the gate, feeling something settle painfully in her chest. Words were no longer enough. Across the city, Lee Seung stood in front of a large mirror in his penthouse bedroom, adjusting his suit. His face looked calm, controlled, powerful. Clara entered quietly. "Where are you going?" she asked. "A friend's party," he replied without turning. She frowned. "Since when do you attend parties?" He sighed. "Clara, I don't have time for this." "That's the problem," she said. "You never do. Not for me. Not for Michael. But somehow, you always have time for her." The room went silent. Lee Seung slowly turned around. His face was blank, the same face he wore when dealing with enemies. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. "Don't insult me by lying," Clara replied. "I stood by you through everything. The violence. The danger. The blood. I never asked you to be perfect. Just present." Lee Seung picked up his jacket. "I'll be back late. Don't wait up." He walked out before she could say another word. The coffee shop smelled of old books and warm coffee. Lee Seung sat across from Hana, who looked at him with a knowing smile. "What's wrong?" she asked. "My wife suspects something," he admitted. Hana leaned back. "Oh really? She doesn't even know the half of it." She smiled. "We would have married if I hadn't gone to the US. You promised you'd wait." "I know," Lee Seung said quietly. "But she stood by me when I had nothing." Hana leaned closer. "And I still love you." He looked away. "You know I'm married." "I don't care," she whispered. "I need help. I took a loan." "How much?" $300,000. Lee Seung didn't hesitate. "I'll sort it out." Hana smiled and touched his chest. "Do you need me tonight?" "Yes," he said. That night, Lee Seung didn't come home. Clara sat on the couch, the lights off, her phone resting beside her. When the door finally opened near dawn, she stood. "You didn't come home," she said. "My friends asked me to stay," he replied. "Interesting," Clara said coldly. "Where were they when you had nothing?" She looked at him, her eyes full of hurt. "My marriage is falling apart. Michael thinks you don't love him." "He's my son," Lee Seung snapped. "You don't act like one," she said. He turned away. "Let's talk some other time." Clara's voice dropped. "I pray you don't regret this." He left again. And somewhere inside Michael, something quietly broke. The cafe sat quietly on a narrow street in Gangnam, hidden between a bookstore and a flower shop. It was the kind of place people went to talk about memories, not the future. Lee Seung arrived early. He chose a corner seat where his back faced the wall, habit drilled into him by years of danger. He checked his phone once. Then again. His jaw tightened, not from fear, but from anticipation. The bell above the door rang. Hana walked in. For a moment, time folded in on itself. She looked older, softer around the eyes, but the smile, God, the smile, was the same one that had once made him believe he could escape the streets. She spotted him and stopped walking, as if seeing him had stolen her breath. Lee Seung, she said quietly. Hana, he replied, standing. They stared at each other, the silence thick with everything they had never finished saying. You came, she said. You said it was urgent, he replied. She sat down slowly, wrapping her hands around a cup of coffee she hadn't ordered. Her fingers trembled just enough for him to notice. What's wrong? He asked. She hesitated. Then sighed. It seems my timing is always bad. He leaned forward. Just tell me. My wife is starting to suspect, he added quickly, as if preparing her. Hana's lips curved into a small smile. Oh really? She looked calm. Too calm. She doesn't even know the truth, Hana continued. She doesn't know that we would have married if I hadn't gone to the US to study. She doesn't know you promised to wait for me. Lee Seung looked away. I thought you weren't coming back. I didn't plan to, Hana said softly. But life doesn't ask permission. There was a pause. She stood by me when I had nothing, Lee Seung said quietly. That's why I married her. Hana leaned forward. And yet, you're here with me. He didn't answer. I still love you, Hana said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm married, Lee Seung replied. I know, she said. That's why this hurts. You're under my protection, he said. Hana smiled, relief washing over her face. She reached across the table and touched his hand. He didn't pull away. Do you need me tonight? She asked quietly. Lee Seung swallowed. Yes. That same evening, Clara sat alone at the dining table, staring at a cold plate of food. Michael was already asleep, his small face turned toward the wall. She hadn't called Lee Seung again. She was tired of unanswered questions. When the door finally opened late that night, Lee Seung walked in smelling of another life. You didn't come home, Clara said calmly. My friends asked me to stay back, he replied. She laughed softly. Interesting. Where were these friends when you had nothing? He sighed. Not now, Clara. This isn't the love you promised me, she said. Michael is not happy. He thinks you have something against him. He's my son, Lee Seung snapped. You don't act like one, she replied. Let's talk another time. Another time? Clara asked quietly. I pray you don't regret this. He turned and walked out again. Late that night, Lee Seung stood on a hotel balcony, the city spread beneath him like a battlefield. His phone buzzed. A message from Hana. Thank you for choosing me. He stared at the words longer than he should have. At that same moment, in her bedroom, Clara lay awake beside an empty pillow. She finally admitted the truth she had been avoiding. Lee Seung was no longer choosing between two women. He had already made his choice. The house no longer felt like a home. Clara noticed it first in the silence. The kind of silence that stayed even when the television was on. The kind that followed her from room to room, reminding her that something precious was slipping away. Lee Seung came home late again. Clara was sitting on the couch, the lights off, her back straight, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She had not moved for hours. When the door opened, she didn't turn her head. You're awake, Lee Seung said. Yes, Clara replied calmly. I was waiting. He loosened his tie and avoided her eyes. It's been a long day. They've all been long days, she said. He walked past her toward the bedroom. Can we not do this tonight? That's the problem, Clara said quietly. We never do this. We never talk. He stopped. She stood up slowly and faced him. Michael asked me today if he did something wrong. He thinks you don't want to be around him. Lee Seung turned sharply. Why would you tell him that? I didn't, she replied. He figured it out on his own. Silence stretched between them. You come home late, Clara continued. You leave early. You don't ask about his day. You don't come to birthdays. You don't show up. And when he asks questions, I'm the one left trying to explain your absence. Lee Seung exhaled sharply. You're exaggerating. I wish I was, she said. She stepped closer. Tell me the truth, Lee Seung. Who is she? His face hardened instantly. The warmth drained from his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult me by lying, Clara said. I've stood by you through everything. The danger. The violence. The blood you never talk about. I never asked you to change who you are. I only asked you to be here. He laughed once, bitterly. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Then help me understand, she said. Because right now, it feels like I'm married to a stranger. Someone who looks like my husband, but left a long time ago. Lee Seung grabbed his jacket. I don't have time for this. You never do, Clara replied. Not for me. Not for Michael. But somehow, you always have time for her. The room went dead quiet. Lee Seung slowly turned around. His face was blank. Cold. Dangerous. I said I don't know what you're talking about. Clara swallowed hard. Then why do you guard your phone like it holds your soul? Why do you smile at messages you won't let me see? Why does my son hear another woman's name in your voice? He said nothing. That silence answered everything. I gave up my family, Clara whispered. My country. My entire life. I followed you here because I believed in you. Because I loved you. Lee Seung rubbed his temples. This conversation is pointless. No, she said firmly. What's pointless is begging a man to care about his own family. She looked at him, tears finally spilling. Michael cries himself to sleep some nights. He waits for you. He still believes you'll change. Lee Seung's jaw clenched. He's my son. Then act like it, she said. He turned toward the door. I'll be back late. Don't wait up. He walked out. The door closed softly behind him, but the sound felt louder than a slam. Clara stood frozen for a long moment. Then she slowly sank back onto the couch. Her chest felt tight, her heart pounding with the truth she had been avoiding. This marriage was breaking. Not loudly. Not suddenly. Quietly. Slowly. Painfully. She wiped her tears and stood up, walking toward Michael's room. She opened the door gently. Michael was asleep, curled on his side, his small hand clutching his pillow. I'm here, she whispered, even though he couldn't hear her. She sat beside him and brushed his hair back. I'll always choose you. Elsewhere, Lee Seung sat across from Hana in a quiet restaurant. She smiled as he spoke, nodding as though she already knew everything. She's starting to ask questions, he said. Hana laughed softly. Of course she is. She doesn't understand me, he added. Hana reached for his hand. I do. For the first time in days, Lee Seung felt calm. And somewhere far away, Clara felt the final crack form, deep enough to break everything. Friday arrived with a quiet kind of hope. Michael woke up earlier than usual, already dressed in his neatly pressed school suit. He stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie the way he had practiced all week. Today was his presentation day. Today, he would stand on a stage and speak in front of everyone. Today, he wanted his father to see him. Mom, he called softly. Does Dad know it's today? Clara paused at the doorway and smiled. Yes, sweetheart. He knows. Michael's eyes lit up. So he's coming? He said he would, she replied. And for the first time in days, Michael smiled without forcing it. Hours later, the school auditorium buzzed with parents and children. Chairs scraped the floor. Soft chatter filled the air. Clara sat in the second row, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She checked her phone again. No message. No call. Michael stood backstage with his classmates, peeking through the curtain every few seconds. Mom, he whispered when he saw her, where's Dad? Clara leaned closer. He's on his way. He'll be here soon. Michael nodded, trusting her. The lights dimmed. The first name was called. Then the second. Then Michael's. He stepped onto the stage, his eyes scanning the room. For one brief moment, his heart raced with hope. But his father wasn't there. Michael swallowed hard and began to speak anyway. His voice shook at first, but he kept going. He spoke clearly. He stood tall. He did everything right. When he finished, the room filled with applause. Clara clapped the loudest, tears streaming down her face. But Michael didn't smile. 40 minutes later, as parents gathered their children in the hallway, Lee Seung rushed in, adjusting his jacket. "I'm sorry," he said breathlessly. "Traffic was terrible." Michael looked up at him. His face was calm. Too calm. "It's okay, Dad," he said quietly. "I'm used to it." Those words hit harder than any shout ever could. Clara froze. "Used to what?" Lee Seung asked. Michael didn't answer. He simply reached for his mother's hand. "Let's go home," he said. Outside the auditorium, the tension finally broke. "You promised," Clara said, her voice low but shaking. "You promised you would be here." "I came," Lee Seung replied. "I was late." "Late means absent," she snapped. "He needed you once. Just once." Michael tugged gently at her hand. "Mom, it's okay." Clara knelt in front of him. "No, baby. It's not okay." A teacher approached them with a warm smile. "Are you Michael's father?" she asked. "Yes," Lee Seung replied. "I'm Lee Seung." "Your son is very intelligent," the teacher said. "You should be proud of him." "I am," Lee Seung said quickly. The teacher nodded and turned to Clara. "You've raised a wonderful boy." Clara smiled politely, but her eyes burned. They walked away without another word. That night, Clara sat at the edge of Michael's bed, tucking him in. "You did amazing today," she said softly. "Did Dad see?" he asked. Clara hesitated. "Not the way he should have." Michael nodded slowly. "It's okay, Mom. I don't need him to come anymore." Something broke inside her. When Lee Seung entered the living room later that night, Clara was waiting. "I can't do this anymore," she said calmly. "Do what?" he asked. "Watch my son shrink," she replied. "Watch him stop hoping. Stop asking. Stop believing." "I didn't mean to hurt him," Lee Seung said. "But you did," she replied. Again. She looked straight into his eyes. "You're not choosing anyone, Lee Seung. And that's why you're losing us." Silence filled the room. "This weekend," he began. "I'll fix this." She shook her head slowly. "You've said that too many times." She stood up, her voice steady now. "Something changed today. And it can't be undone." Lee Seung felt it then, the fear. The kind that comes when something precious slips through your fingers. He didn't know yet what she was about to do. But he would soon. The decision did not come with shouting. It came with a strange, frightening calm. Clara woke up before sunrise, long before Michael stirred. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, listening to the steady rhythm of her own breathing. Somewhere deep inside her, something had settled, quiet, firm, unmovable. She was done waiting. By the time Lee Seung came out of the bedroom, dressed and distracted, 2 suitcases stood neatly by the door. He stopped. "What's this?" he asked. Clara didn't look up from folding Michael's clothes. "I'm packing." "For a trip?" he asked, already uneasy. "No," she said calmly. "I'm leaving." The word hung in the air. Lee Seung laughed once, short and sharp. "You're upset. We talked about this last night." "This isn't anger," Clara replied. "This is clarity." She placed the last shirt into the suitcase and zipped it closed. Her hands didn't shake. "You don't mean that," he said. "You'll cool down." She finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but steady. "I gave you 8 years to choose us. I'm not cooling down anymore." He stepped closer. "You can't just take my son and walk away." "I can," she said. "And I will." Michael appeared in the hallway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mom." Clara turned instantly, her voice softening. "Come here, baby." Michael walked over slowly. "Are we going somewhere?" "Yes," she said gently. "Somewhere peaceful." Lee Seung crouched in front of his son. "Michael, Dad just needs a little time. We'll fix this." Michael looked at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "You always say that." Those words landed harder than any argument. Clara handed Lee Seung a folder. "The divorce papers are inside." My lawyer will contact you. His hands trembled as he opened it. You're serious. I have never been more serious, she said. I can't watch Michael break a little more every time you choose someone else. I'm not choosing anyone, Lee Seung insisted. That's the problem, Clara replied. You're not choosing us. He reached for her arm. Clara, please. Just give me time. I'll end it. I'll change. She gently pulled away. If you wanted to, you already would have. Tears finally slipped down her face, but her voice remained steady. This isn't a marriage anymore. This is survival. You can't take my son, he said again, desperation rising. She looked him straight in the eyes. Did you just say my son? He froze. I'm the one who shows up, she continued. I know his favorite food. His fears. His dreams. I'm the one who tucks him in when you don't come home. I'm the one who wipes his tears when you disappoint him. Michael reached for her hand. One day, Clara said quietly, you'll look for us and we won't be there. And when that day comes, I hope you remember this moment. I hope you remember that you had everything, and you let it slip away. She opened the door. Lee Seung stood frozen, watching as Clara and Michael walked out. The door closed. Softly. Final. The house felt wrong without them. Too big. Too empty. Lee Seung walked from room to room, touching things that no longer mattered. Michael's drawings were gone. Clara's shoes were missing. The silence pressed down on him until it was hard to breathe. His phone vibrated. A message from Clara. I loved you enough to stay longer than I should have. But love isn't enough when I'm the only one fighting. Michael deserves better. He deserves a father who chooses him, who sees him, who shows up. Since you can't be that person, we've left. Please don't look for us. Lee Seung stared at the screen for a long time. Then he put the phone down. That night, he didn't cry. He called Hana instead. She left, he said. Clara and Michael are gone. Hana's voice softened. Then come home. Come to me. And Lee Seung did. He signed the divorce papers days later. He invited Hana to move in. He told himself he was finally free. But freedom felt strangely hollow. And somewhere far away, Clara held Michael close in a quiet apartment, whispering promises she intended to keep. At first, Lee Seung thought peace had finally found him. The house was no longer quiet with tension. Hana filled the rooms with laughter, music, and expensive perfume. She walked around like she owned the place, because, in her mind, she did. Lee Seung watched her sometimes and told himself this was what he had been missing all along. Freedom. No questions. No expectations. No reminders of broken promises. He signed the divorce papers without hesitation. Hana smiled when he told her. Now we can be together properly, she said, wrapping her arms around him. They married quietly. No guests. No joy. No real celebration. 6 months later, the cracks began to show. It started with money. Why are you cutting costs? Hana asked one evening, scrolling through her phone. I need more funds for my projects. Deals aren't coming in like before, Lee Seung replied calmly. Rival groups are blocking routes. We need to be careful. Hana scoffed. Careful? I didn't marry you to start living small. Her spending grew heavier. Designer bags. Jewelry. Trips. Demands. She wanted control over deals she didn't understand. Arguments became routine. You're too cautious, she snapped one night. You're reckless, he replied. The love he thought he had found began to feel like a business negotiation. Then came the betrayal. Lee Seung arrived at a luxury hotel unannounced one evening. A client meeting had ended early, and for the first time in months, he felt the urge to surprise his wife. The door to the suite was half open. He heard laughter. A man's voice. Hana's voice. Lee Seung pushed the door open slowly. Hana froze. She was not alone. The room smelled of betrayal. What is this? Lee Seung asked quietly, his voice shaking despite himself. Hana straightened. It's not what you think. Then explain it, he said. She sighed, annoyed. You're never around. I got lonely. Lonely. That word shattered whatever illusion he had left. You slept with my client, he said. And, she replied coldly, you taught me how this world works. Something inside him collapsed. Get out, he said. Hana laughed. You think you can throw me away? I want a divorce. And I want my share. She left that night. Lawyers came next. Properties were split. Money disappeared faster than it had ever come. As Hana walked away with half of what remained, Lee Seung stood alone again, older, poorer, and painfully awake. That was when he tried to go back. He found Clara's address through a private contact. When she opened the door, she looked stronger. Calmer. Untouched by chaos. I've changed, he said immediately. I made mistakes. I lost everything. She listened quietly. And Hana, she asked. I was wrong, he admitted. She was never love. She was escape. Clara nodded. I know. Can we try again? He asked. She shook her head. You can see your son. That's where your second chance is. But we are never coming back. He closed his eyes. I regret everything. Regret doesn't raise a child, she replied gently. Months passed. Lee Seung's empire crumbled. Bad deals. Wrong decisions. Lost allies. The power he once held faded quietly, just like the family he had lost. He kept his promise, though. Child support arrived on time. Every time. One evening, Michael asked his mother, are we going to see Dad? Clara smiled softly. No, sweetheart. Michael nodded. He wasn't sad. He was at peace. Lee Seung sat alone in his empty house that night, staring at the walls that once echoed with laughter he ignored. For the first time, he understood. He had not lost his family because of Hana. He lost them because he stopped choosing them. Time has a way of softening pain, not by erasing it, but by teaching the heart how to carry it. 2 years had passed. Clara George's life was no longer ruled by waiting or disappointment. Her small apartment felt warm, alive, and peaceful. Laughter came easily now. The kind of laughter that didn't need explanations or apologies. Michael had grown taller, stronger, calmer. He no longer waited by the door. On Saturday mornings, he helped his mother make breakfast. On school days, he packed his own bag, confident and focused. The sadness that once sat quietly in his eyes had faded. One afternoon, Clara watched him practice the piano by the window. The sunlight wrapped around him gently, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to breathe fully. They were okay. Lee Seung's life looked very different. The empire he once ruled had collapsed piece by piece. Poor decisions. Betrayals. Lost loyalty. The power that once protected him no longer existed. But something else had grown in its place. Humility. He lived quietly now. No luxury. No illusions. Just consequences and reflection. Every month, without fail, he sent support for Michael. Not because he was ordered to, but because he finally understood responsibility. One afternoon, he stood outside Michael's school, watching from a distance. He did not approach. He did not demand anything. He waited. Michael spotted him first. Mom, he said calmly, Dad is here. Clara followed his gaze. Her chest tightened, but she didn't panic. Do you want to talk to him? She asked gently. Michael thought for a moment. Then nodded. Lee Seung walked toward them slowly, unsure, like a man learning how to move again. Hi, Dad, Michael said. Hi, son, Lee Seung replied, his voice barely steady. I have a piano recital next week, Michael added. You can come if you want. Lee Seung's eyes filled. I'll be there. And this time, Michael said quietly, please come early. I will, Lee Seung promised. I swear. The day of the recital came. Lee Seung arrived 1 hour early. He sat in the front row, hands folded, waiting. When Michael stepped onto the stage and spotted him, a small smile appeared on his face. Not a hopeful smile. A peaceful one. Michael played beautifully. When the applause filled the room, Lee Seung clapped until his hands hurt. Afterward, Michael ran into his arms. You came, he said. I'll always come, Lee Seung replied. Clara watched from a distance. She felt no anger. No regret. Just acceptance. Later that evening, Lee Seung approached her. Thank you, he said. For protecting him. For protecting yourself. Clara nodded. That was my job. I don't expect forgiveness, he added. I just want to be better. She looked at him calmly. Then be consistent. He smiled faintly. I will. That night, Clara and Michael walked home hand in hand. The past no longer followed them. They had peace. They had love. And somewhere behind them, Lee Seung finally learned the truth too late, but not too late to be a father.